When most people think of OCD, one of the first images that comes to their minds is of someone who constantly washes their hands. This is actually a big misconception. OCD is a mental illness that involves obsessive thinking and compulsive behavior. At its core, it has nothing to do with hand washing. But there is one subtype of OCD that fits this image pretty accurately. It's called Contamination OCD. And even though you might find people with Contamination OCD washing their hands frequently, this subtype is a lot more complex than just being a germaphobe or a clean freak. In this video, we'll go over everything you need to know about Contamination OCD, what it is, its most common symptoms, and how you can get help if you're suffering. My name is Emily from Impulse Therapy, the online OCD treatment platform. Be sure to hit the subscribe button for weekly tips on OCD management and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever we post a new video. Now, let's dive into everything you need to know about Contamination OCD. People with this subtype of OCD have obsessive thoughts about being dirty or infected in some way. Even if you don't have OCD, most people can probably relate to the feeling to a certain extent. Imagine how you'd feel after you used a dirty public restroom. There's urine everywhere, and it smells horrible. You'd probably feel pretty gross, right? You might even feel the intense need to wash your hands right away. This is life with Contamination OCD, except for one key difference. For people with OCD, fear is a constant part of life. They don't just worry about being dirty when they do something that's actually unsanitary, like use a dirty restroom. They worry that anything could contaminate them. This anxiety doesn't go away until they perform a compulsion. But, like with any type of OCD, the compulsion only makes OCD worse. Some common obsessive fears that people with Contamination OCD have are the fear of dirt, bacteria, and illnesses, pollutants like lead or arsenic, surfaces or doorknobs, bodily fluids like blood or urine, animals, and even other people. Of course, this isn't an exhaustive list of contamination obsessions, and people with OCD are plagued with fears that wouldn't even cross other people's minds. The possibilities, unfortunately, are endless. People with contamination obsessions react to the intense anxiety by performing a compulsive or repetitive behavior. This is where the stereotype of someone washing their hands constantly comes from. But there's a dark truth behind that stereotype. Someone with OCD might wash their hands to try to get rid of this intense anxiety about being dirty, which, to a degree, makes sense. But of course, if it were that simple, then OCD wouldn't be the torturous disease that it is. People with Contamination OCD don't just wash their hands once, feel clean again, and go about the rest of their day. If the person has OCD, washing their hands once won't ever be enough to rid them of their contamination fear. It might bring relief for a few minutes, but then their OCD starts whispering to them, "What if you didn't get all the germs? What if there are some left and you end up getting everyone around you sick? What if you get grandma sick and she dies? You better wash your hands again just to be safe." And the OCD cycle starts all over again. This is why OCD is so unbearable. It robs us of both peace of mind and the hours that we spend doing compulsions like hand washing. Besides hand washing, other common compulsions that are specific to people with Contamination OCD are sanitizing surfaces, avoiding things or places that are seen as dirty, excessive showering, throwing things away unnecessarily, and even pouring bleach on themselves in extreme cases. People may also relentlessly ask others for reassurance that they're not infected with anything, say prayers or perform rituals to protect themselves from contamination, and constantly check on others to make sure that they haven't been contaminated. Do you feel like your fears about being dirty, infected, or contaminated are causing you an unreasonable amount of anxiety? Are you losing precious time because of your need to perform compulsions like hand washing? If so, then tell your therapist or doctor. You might be suffering from OCD, and OCD almost never goes away on its own. Contamination OCD is agonizing. But here's the good news. OCD is a treatable condition. You don't need to live locked away with OCD forever, and life after recovery is waiting for you. A combination of exposure and response prevention and psychiatric medication has had great results for the treatment of OCD. With the right treatment, you can free yourself from the OCD cycle. Do you have a story to share about your experience with contamination OCD? Let us know in the comments below. Together, we can defeat OCD stigma and make people more aware of what this disorder is all about. We at Impulse Therapy always have your back. We'll see you soon.